Hello, what is up guys? EvilDuoSarm here today, back with another Black Desert video. So, if you've been watching my content over on Twitch or like YouTube for the last, I don't know, 5 years, you're gonna know that I'm a big time life skiller in Black Desert. And I've got tons of video guides on pretty much every single one of these life skills. So what I like to do every single year is go through those older videos and remake them and update them for the current year. And the first one of 2024 is going to be probably my favorite life skill in the game, Gathering. And boy, has it been a long time since my last Gathering Guide video came out. I mean, look at that hair. My goodness. I guess I can kind of give you a little bit of nostalgia here if you really want it and put the headband on. But 3 years ago, this video actually came out in April of 2020, so almost 4 years old this video. A lot has changed in the Gathering life skill. You can make billions of silver an hour. Like, I just pulled up my Tashira Ruins runs. If you look at my line gathering rotations, you can see 1,900,000,000. All the different sap gathering locations, I push pretty darn near 1,000,000,000 silver an hour. You can make a ton of money off of the Gathering life skill. So it's one of the best ones to get into if you're a new player, experienced player, want to get into life skilling, all of that. Feeds into cooking. It's like definitely the best life skill to get started with here in Black Desert, and it's long overdue for a video guide remake. So today's video is going to be going through the Gathering life skill, showing you how to get started with it if you're a newer player, how to make money off of it if you're more experienced, or as you continue to progress, all the different gear requirements, all the different quests, skills, everything you're going to want to do in order to start making billions of silver an hour like I do over on my Twitch streams when I do it every single week. So, quickly before we get into this video, if you're new to the channel, new to Black Desert, or you have been watching videos on my channel and still have not subscribed yet, please consider it. It helps to grow my channel, you stay up to date with new content, and we both win. And without further ado, let's get into it and start off with, what is Gathering? So simply put, Gathering is a life skill in Black Desert, or a profession if you've played other video games, that might be the other thing that they're called, in which you take various utensils and tools and use them to gather various goods throughout the world. So for example, if I walk up to this tree, I can interact with the tree and gather sap from the tree in this case, or if I wanted to, I could cut down the tree and use an axe. So typical like gathering of resources that you might be used to in any type of game. The reason that this skill can make a ton of money and why it's awesome for new players is because all of the resources that you gather are either funneled through processing and trading or cooking and trading. Oh, and I guess I did forget alchemy does go into trading and also general use as well, but Perlibus has also forgotten about alchemy, so what's it matter? But yeah, overall Gathering is pretty much the same as any other activity in Black Desert. You have a set of gear that you equip to your character. You then have weapons, or in the case of Gathering, tools that you equip on your character to go and gather the resources. You gather them, turn them into more value by selling them or turning them into other things, and then continue to advance your character, buy more gear, and repeat the same sort of cycle that you would for any sort of gearing activity in Black Desert. Now, the cool thing about Gathering for me is that the barrier to entry and starting to make silly amounts of money, like billion silver an hour plus, isn't as hard as it is to get into grinding. So, for example, Gathering life skill gear that I have on for like my Gathering setup is about 150 billion silver, 160 billion silver, which compared to like the gear requirements to go grind other places and make a billion silver an hour, substantially less. But we'll talk more into gearing when we get to that portion of the video. I think for this point, what is Gathering? You go around, get things, put gear on, upgrade your gear, make more money, etc. So if I've managed to get your interest here in the first few minutes, your next logical question is probably, what is the best class to do Gathering on? And the answer to this isn't as straightforward as a life skill like hunting, for example, where there's objectively a best class, that being the striker. There are kind of nuances to this. Personally, I am biased, and I'm going to say that the Musa is the best class for Gathering. It has fantastic movement, easy to control, extra long distance movement, great AoEs, has pulls for grabbing various other monsters and stuff, so like, it's a really good class for all the different types of life skilling. Meiwa is very similar in the sense of its movements, so you have the dashes and easy control as well with that, but any class can work. There are tons of different gathering spots, all that pay similar amounts of money in the end when you go through and do the gathering with them. They have different requirements, different distance between different mobs, so in general, it doesn't particularly matter. A lot of people love the Shy for the increased carry weight that it provides. There's a lot of different options that you have here. In the same vein of this question, a lot of people also ask, should I do Gathering on my main character or should I make an alt? Now, there is an update planned in the roadmap for the game that allows us to essentially share our life skills across all of our characters, so this is a less important question than it used to be. And ultimately, when that update comes out, this question won't even matter. But if you are playing before that update, you do have to kind of think about energy. So energy is the most important resource for your Gathering character, which means if you do it on your main, you're going to recover energy while you're out grinding or doing other activities in the game, and then be able to gather sooner than if you had it on like a character on the side that you never played. So for that reason, I would recommend doing your gathering on a main character, or combining other life skills with your gathering characters such as cooking. That way when you're cooking, you can recover that energy and then go out and do it again. So long as you leave whatever character you did your gathering on logged in through cooking, fishing, whatever, and recover that energy, then you can use whatever character you really want. Me personally, I do everything on my Musa, which is my main, so I'm always recovering my energy and can always go and continue gathering. Now in that last segment, I talked about energy a bunch, which means the next logical step is probably to cover what energy is, and it's this icon in the top left corner of your screen right here, this little arm that's flexing right above your health bar. Your energy depletes by 1 every time you make a gather, which means I can do 436 gathers before I run out of energy. It will recover 1 point every 3 minutes, depending on whether buffs you have active at the time. This will increase, so you could recover more energy per minute. However, at its base rate, those are the charging rates there. Since this is your resource that controls how much gathering you can do, you'll want to build this up as you continue to play through Black Desert. It's not something you need to drop everything and go and gather out 700 energy before you can start playing the game. Just something to keep in mind that when you have the opportunity or some downtime, you might want to work towards building up your energy. Energy is built up by pressing the H key on the keyboard and going through all the various knowledges here, and you'll see the various energy bonuses you get for completing it. So for example, completing the Topography of Eastern Belenos, I got 4 energy. If I look at Serendia, I have another point I could get here by completing this section, by completing these little question marks that I've got out here. If you hover over them, it gives you a little bit of dialogue information about what that item needs to be done. So for example, I need to get Dialogue Marana Lynch after the Altar of the Wizard quest. So that's how I get that missing knowledge that I have right there. Now, in addition to the natural recovery that you get of energy for every 3 minutes, you can also use energy potions. There have been a variety of these throughout the years that the game has given out, or that are currently available in game. We have things like the tried and true large energy potion that you see me right there that I just used on accident, which is really frustrating, but oh well. We also have the Pearl Shop energy potions that you can use. There's these energy gourd bottles that are given away from events. And recently we saw the introduction of the Miraculous Herbal Medicine, which is probably one of the best energy items ever created in Black Desert, increasing your energy recovery by 30, as well as restoring you 500 energy immediately. So one of the best ways to regenerate your energy. For most people, the easiest and most attainable option are the energy potions of the extra large variety, and while there are none of them on the central marketplace in the NA region, they can be obtained with any character that has 200 energy on them and available, and talking to various NPCs throughout the world of Black Desert, exchanging that energy for an energy potion that you can then transfer back over to that main character. There's a ton of these different NPCs in the world. I do have a full-on video guide about where all these NPCs are, where you do the exchanges, etc. Channel, link down below in the description. One more thing on the topic of energy before we move on. There are crystals that you can purchase as well, or obtain in-game, that allow you to have 10 bonus energy as well, so 10 additional max energy, which might be something to consider slotting in your gathering setup for the increased energy maximum. Alright, so we've got our character picked out that we want to play as, we have our energy built up and we're ready to get started with gathering. Now let's talk about the gear you're going to need. So just like how combat gear has a bunch of different stats like AP, accuracy, evasion, etc., life skill gear has its own different category of stats. The most important one being your mastery. Every single life skill in Black Desert, including gathering, is augmented by your mastery stat. Increasing your mastery stat will increase your amount of resources you gather, your drop rates for various items, and in general allow you to make significantly more money the higher you push that mastery number. Mastery has a hard cap at 2,000 mastery. You do not get any benefits by going above 2,000 mastery at the time this video is coming out, which is January of 2024. Just gotta throw that one in there for when somebody comments on this video in 2027. So just like with your regular combat gear, how you want to bump your stats as high as possible, you also want to bump your mastery as high as possible to maximize your income. Life skill gear, if you hover over any of the pieces, will provide you a mastery bonus. So for example, I've got my cook's clothes on right now. They give me cooking mastery plus 300, you can see down there. If I put on my gathering clothes instead, since this is a gathering video, you'll see that it gives me gathering mastery plus 400. Your accessories will also boost your mastery, so you see those rings are giving me 65, the earrings are giving me 65, my belt's giving me 105, my necklace is giving me 105, and if I open up my tool bag, I have a butcher knife that is giving me 400 mastery. So those add up to some bonus mastery. Additionally, every time you level up your skill, so for example I'm at Master 19 Gathering, you get bonus mastery for that life skill as well. So my base mastery from that life skill being leveled up is 495, and then all of the gear that I have purchased bumps it up to 1822 when I do butcher and gathering, so whenever I'm gathering meat. There are also artifact and lightstone combinations that you can pick up. So for example, if I put on my gathering artifact and lightstone set, you'll see it gave me even more mastery and put me over to 1860 butchering. Now, the bonuses for mastery apply in different increments depending on the life skill. Since this video is about gathering, the gathering increment is every 50 mastery. So every 50 mastery you go up, you improve your amount of income that you'll make from gathering. If you hover over it, you can see your rates for increased bonuses down there. So like my drop rate's up 80%, 356% bonus materials, etc., running it down the line. So yeah, to give you a TLDR version here, you want to bump the mastery score as high as possible. When you are first starting out though, you don't actually have to worry too much about the mastery skill because we have magical tools. These tools right here can now be used at level 1 after a recent update, and are fantastic when you're just starting out with the life skill. They have built-in bonuses that are roughly the same as though you had 700 to 750 mastery, meaning if you just want to like try out gathering for a day and see if it's something you'll even be interested in, picking up like a magic butcher knife and going to town is a great way to get started. You don't need any other gear or any other requirements, you can just throw this thing on and be gathering at a decent level right at the start. If it turns out to be something you enjoy though, you're going to want to work on upgrading your gear substantially from here. Since we're looking at utensils already, you can see the 3 different tiers that we have right here. We have the Logia tier, the Duster tier, and the Manos tier. Green, blue, and red. Each of these items provides a different amount of mastery depending on its leveled status, so for example this Try one provides 220 mastery, the Tet one provides 300, and the Pen one provides 400 mastery. We also have Gatherer's Clothes. If you type in Gatherers into the central marketplace, you'll see, same idea. We have the green, blue, and red tiers, and we also have a silver embroidered. Silvered embroidered life skill clothes provide you an EXP bonus as you continue to progress them, so if you're trying to level up a life skill faster, you go with the silver embroidered, but if you're trying to make as much money as possible, you're going to want to bump into the mastery categories. There's guides out there that tell you to power level up to Master 1 for your gathering life skill because it provides you an energy reduction bonus. This is true. Personally, I like money, so I would rather just go for the mastery and just had at it, but it's up to you what you want to do in this regard. Again, each of these pieces of clothing have different bonuses to your mastery. And then similar to the clothes and utensils, we also have accessories. So we have the green grade of accessories, which are Logia. We have the Geranoa tier, which is the blue tier of accessories. And we have the Manos tier of accessories, which are the red tier. Do want to point out that if you decide to purchase these accessories, don't buy the yellow ones. Make sure you're buying the red ones. The red ones are the life-skilled ones. Now, if you're just starting out with your life skill adventure, you can also pick up these Floramos rings. If you find the NPC Liana, who is located in pretty much every single town in the game, but you can use the find NPC function to find her using that, type in Liana, see all of her different locations in the game. If you find this NPC, they will have a quest available to you that you can complete that will allow you to exchange various items for a singular Floramos ring. I've already completed the quest line, so I can't show it to you. The second Floramos ring can be obtained from a seasonal character with the new season servers that have been added to the game, which in case you haven't sensed the theme already, I have a video guide on as well, linked down below. Obtaining these 2 rings shouldn't take you more than a couple of days and saves you almost 12 billion silver in gear that you would have to otherwise buy. And as you can see, you can use them pretty much all the way into the end game, so they're 2 fantastic items that I would highly recommend picking up. So that's accessories and armors out of the way. That leaves 2 more gear slots. The first is going to be the heart, and honestly, the Khan's Heart is probably your best in slot option here. I know that there's the free giveaway Lightstone that they gave. Khan's Heart provides you 25 mastery. It's absolutely insane. You can also use the Lightstone swap trick to get an extra 100 mastery if you use something like a Stealth Spirit Stone. Get the 100 bonus for the active, put the Khan's Heart back on and get 125 bonus mastery. Just having a Khan's Heart is probably the best way to go. Obviously not something you're going to pick up right away because it's got a 5 billion silver price tag, but something to keep an eye out for as you continue to progress. In the interim, you can use things like Life Spirit Stones or the free Spirit Stone that you get for playing through the quest line. And would you believe me if I told you I had a video guide on how to get that beginner's Life Spirit Stone when you're just starting out? Because if not, I do. It's right here. Linked down below in the description. So that leaves one more slot here, and that is the Artifact and Lightstone combination. I do believe the best Lightstone combination for gathering to be the Yawning Hedgehog one. It provides you a 10% drop rate bonus to your gathering, as well as gathering EXP bonuses, mastery, energy recovery. Just all in all is an amazing, amazing, amazing bonus to get there. I have mine slotted on the Gathering Mastery Stones to increase my Gathering Mastery to the 1860 tier. There's also one that provides drop rate bonus, so whenever I get one of those, you bet I'll be swapping those in. This Lightstone combination is made with a Lightstone of Wind Fortune, a Lightstone of Flora Forest, an Iridescent Lightstone, and a Lightstone of Flora Plains. But with that, I do believe I've hit pretty much every major gear requirement for the Gathering life skill. So now we've got our character picked out, we've got our energy built up, we've got our gear on our character, we're ready to get started and go have some fun. let's take a look at a couple of different items as well as buffs that you might want to have to augment or make your gathering a little bit easier or better and really push your income per hour to the top tiers. The first item is actually for like newer players that are just getting started that might not have the money to start investing in some of that gear, and that's obtained from the NPC Normal Light here in the Northern Bee Plantation. So right here above Calpheon City, if you interact with this NPC and click on the chat tab, you can actually purchase these lights versions of gear, and these light versions of gear have pretty decent mastery bonuses to start out at the cost of 50 contribution points. So just while you're building up your gear score, you can work towards picking those up. And then obviously as soon as you have more money and can replace those with better gear, you can swap them out and get your contribution points back. Now the second piece of gear that you can pick up, and probably one that every single person is going to want to get, is going to be the Liana's Tool Bag. The Liana's Tool Bag allows you to equip every single one of your gathering utensils on one character at the same time so that you don't have to swap around in your inventory. It's obtained from a pretty easy questline. It takes like 5 minutes to do. I've got a YouTube video on it, link in the description down below because I've already completed the questline. But yeah, the video is 4 minutes long. It takes like 5 minutes to do the quest, just talking to some NPCs to pick up this bag. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is going to be Agris Fever, which is probably the second craziest buff to gathering that there ever was in the game. And the Agris Fever buff essentially increases the amount of resources that you get when you go and gather. Just like how it works for the grinding activities and giving you more trash loot, it gives you more raw resources when you go to gather. It is obtained by completing the adventure log under the adventure log bookshelf, Old Moon logs on the right side here, and then Books of Margarin, books 1 and 2. I do have a guide walking through these as well, so this is also linked down in the description below, like every single one of these video guides that I've been referencing, all in the description down below. Then the fourth and final one of these like prerequisite quests that you're going to want to do is the one that unlocks the 10x gathering. Again, I have a video guide on this as well, but essentially what this allows you to do is consume 10 energy at a time to get 10 times the amount of resources. It'll proc it what feels like somewhere between 2 and 5% of the time, and essentially doubles the amount of money you make per hour while gathering. So you'll want to complete this questline ASAP. It is a longer questline, takes a little bit of time to complete. I've got a full video guide on it, again, linked in the description down below. But you definitely want to complete this questline. Do know that you need to be up to the artisan tiers of gathering before you can do it. So you'll have to start working on your gathering a little bit, then go out and do this questline. It's available in the Land of Morning Light. So those are the 4 like quest-related activities. There's also one more thing that I haven't mentioned relative to gearing, and that is going to be the Hedgehog Pet. The Hedgehog Pet used to be one of the best items in the game. It increased your income from gathering by like 5 to 10%. When you were at the later tiers, and early on it was almost 50% increase to your income. It's dropped off substantially after the gathering minigame. In older videos, I definitely recommended it if you wanted to get into gathering, and it still is bonus money just for doing something you're already doing, but it's not as substantial as you may think it is, or as other people may lead you on to believe. If you're interested in min-maxing, something to consider picking up. If you don't have it or you don't want to spend money on Black Desert, not something you need to worry too much about. And while I'm on the topic of money, we also have the tent, the campsite. This allows you to repair your gear remotely. Again, it's something that you don't need to use because there are alternate gathering locations that are right near repair vendors, so you can just fix your gear whenever you need it. The campsite allows you to go to some of the more lucrative spots that are far away from civilization so that you can continue gathering without having to stop and repair. And while I'm on the minor tangent of repair, do know that there are durability crystals that when they're slotted will increase your durability of your tools, allowing you to gather for longer. So again, something to consider adding in if you don't plan on purchasing the tent. That way you can gather for longer before needing to repair your tools. So I think those are mostly like the fixed quest and gear related bonuses. Now let's talk about a few other stats that you have on your character for gathering. The first one is going to be the actual gathering skill itself. Every point you get into this reduces the amount of time it takes you to gather. Being in a guild will provide you a bonus of level 3 of this. So being in a guild already takes that to 60%. The last couple of points can then be obtained from your food, like the seafood crown meal, or other gear pieces like my artifact set that's giving me 1 gathering. Now the next stat I want to mention is going to be the drop rate buff, and you can see right here I've got gathering item drop rate plus 10% from my artifact and lightstones, 12% from my heart here. If I look at something like Laura's Black Tea, it gives you another 10% buff. I mentioned earlier that there's the artifacts that give you 2% drop rate increased here. Essentially that stat just increases the amount of stuff that you get. So it's another stat that you want to try and maximize while you're out doing your gathering. Think of it as something comparable to like wanting to have your loot scrolls running. You want to have different buffs that provide you different bonuses there. On the theme of loot scrolls, we do have a couple of different types of scrolls. There are the Books of Florin, which are obtained from login events typically. They give these away for free. That'll give you 100 bonus mastery just flat on any of your life skills, so incredibly useful while you're out gathering. We also have Giovanni Grolin support scrolls that are obtained from events as well, and these also give you 100 bonus mastery and stack with the other scrolls. So you can get 200 bonus mastery from those two. There's the Stella Spirit Stone that's given away from events. It'll give you another 100 mastery on top of that if you want to push it even further. So those are other additional buffs that you can pop right there. And finally, we have the energy recovery buffs. So there are a couple of different ones that give you this. The first is obtained from the tent. It is the Villa buff of Turning Gates. Will give you 1 energy recovery. You can also do things like Blessings of Camisylvia that'll provide +2 energy to recovery. Sleeping in a bed will provide you energy recovery if you're AFK, although I'd recommend doing something like fishing instead or AFK cooking to recover that energy. That way you're still making money. And then, of course, leaving your character logged out of the game and doing something else will recover a couple more points of energy every 10 minutes instead. And I think that hits the majority of the major buffs that I use. Obviously, you have typical EXP buffs like Verdure Drafts or Life Elixirs. There's a bunch of different EXP buffs, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. We're just looking at straight up boosting your income type activities. Alright, so we got our character, we got our energy, we got our gear, we got all of our different buffs and everything ready to go. Where do we go? And the answer kind of depends on what you're looking to get. At the start of the video, I showed some of my highest income per hour locations. So those would have been the Scorpion and Snake rotation over at Tashira Ruins. We also showed the Lion Meat Gathering rotation out here in the Valencia Desert. Somewhere in this region is usually where I end up going for those. I showed my Sap Gathering rotations, which I've done a couple of different ones of that. So we've got things like the Dorman Lumber Camp down here. We've got things like the Orc Camp rotation that I've done. Random gathering out in the fields over here in Calpheon. Snowfield Cedar Sap rotations in Isleton. But there's tons of different gathering rotations, and there's plenty of them that I still need to make YouTube videos on. If you do go to my channel, you can actually just type in gathering rotations on the search function here on my YouTube channel and see a couple of the different ones that I've got, like Translucent Ice, White Cedar Saps. In fact, I even have a playlist called Gathering Rotations. So I'll link this playlist down in the description below so you can just kind of thumb through it at your leisure. These are ones that I've published already. Obviously, I'll be making more of them here as we move into 2024, and I'm updating all of my gathering guides. These rotations might say 50 million silver an hour in them because that's when they were made back in 2020, but they're all good, I promise. You're making 1 billion silver on most of those. But yeah, those videos show you the rotation and step you through it. Obviously, there's tons of other content creators too that you can watch that have their own secret rotations that they put out there. Like I said, though, I'll be updating that playlist here soon and putting out more of my own rotations that I do. And you can always watch my live stream every single weekend where I usually gather for at least an hour a weekend to show off all my different rotations and everything. But with that, guys, I think I've hit everything I need to do in this video. We've talked about all the different stuff you need to do, which characters, which quests you need to do, all the items you need to get, all the different gear pieces, how to progress your character, what percentages of everything you need to be hitting, how you get your bonus stats, bonus gathering. We covered a lot of stuff in this video, and it was a long video. Like I do with all of my video guides that are like this, I have timestamps now down below, and you can kind of thumb through the different ports as you're continuing to improve your character. But with that, I really do appreciate your guys' continued support. Thank you so much for watching. If you have additional questions, ideas, or thoughts, let me know in the comment section down below, and I look forward to seeing you at the next YouTube video, the next Twitch livestream, or wherever I happen to see ya. Peace.